Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the Great Millstone who do rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, salutations as always to you, sincere Akim, Wa'akwath, keeping the faith, diligence, and testimony of our Lord Yahushai, occupying the prophecies and faith until our Lord come and deliver us. All right, so this would be another installment of news and prophecy. Once again, going into some events that are happening in the planet Earth that are significant to biblical prophecy. Going back to what was written of in the testimony of the law and the prophets, ultimately that we are at the end of the world, and that this should be a call for you Israelites out there, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to repent and get yourself right with Yahweh Bashmiel Shah before the doors of mercy fully close. All right, because we know that we're in a season where things are turning up exponentially. You know what I'm saying? And that's really because the Lord is now forcing everybody into their position. You see what I'm saying? He's forcing the elites into their position. He's forcing the elect, all right, into their position, and he's forcing the 2/3 into their position. You know what I'm saying? So now there's a cut and dry line to where everybody stands at. All right, and those that are faithful, well, you're gonna run to Yahweh Bashmiel Shai for protection in this time. All right, those that are of this world, they're gonna run to the world and be confounded. All right, so everybody is in a position to fulfill their lot. Okay, but for us that are of the hopefully elect, we're looking for salvation. We're looking for deliverance from this nuclear holocaust that's coming, and from all the calamity, the famine, the pestilences, the wars and everything that we see coming on this earth. All right, so of course after the Passover, things are steady turning up. All right, and things are only going to get worse, man. See, we're in the beginning of sorrows right now, and the further we get into prophecy, the more pronounced that division is going to become. All right, because what the prophets have been speaking of, all right, starting from the elders and apostles on down for decades, this is the time now where these things are to be fulfilled. Okay, and when you get the book of Habakkuk, second chapter, what does it say? Yahweh answers the prophet. Habakkuk 2:1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, meaning that, all right, the prophets are supposed to give the clear, basically, to break it down in layman terms. All right, so the elect can understand of, that's why, brothers go into videos and the articles and things, and you break it down and tie it back into biblical prophecy so the true believers can understand and know where we at in time to make sense of what's going on in the world. All right, that's what it means to make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So the vision is not tarrying anymore. Okay, these visions, these prophecies are happening in real time, and you have the prophets, the servants of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai on the scene that are here to give you that understanding. So it's very important that you do so in this time while you still have the time. All right, because we see that these certain laws and mandates are coming down to where very soon Esau, he will cut this word off. All right, he's gonna stop the street preaching. He's gonna stop the videos going out on YouTube. Everything is gonna come to a halt very soon. All right, so this is the time now to build yourself up in the faith and in the doctrine, so that when certain things go down, you'll have comfort. Okay, but I want to start off with this video right here. Another war brewing. Turkey blasts Netanyahu after Israeli PM attacks Erdogan. All right, so we see this constant strain between Babylon and its NATO allies, because Turkey is a NATO ally. And you have Tayyip Erdogan, the PM of Turkey, that is now threatening to pretty much invade the land of the small hats. Okay, and when you look at it on paper, it's been like this for a while. But Turkey, they not fond of America, and they damn sure not fond of the small hats. All right, because ever since that October 7th war has been going on, Turkey has been very outspoken against the regime of Netanyahu. But now it's at a boiling point to where, we see that NATO is falling apart. This is also significant because Turkey is the second largest military in NATO outside of America, Babylon. All right, so we already know, according to prophecy, Ezekiel the 38th chapter, that Turkey is going to leave the NATO alliance and they're going to side with Russia and China, who are also helping Iran in this war along with Turkey. Okay, so it's only a matter of time. Like we just read in Habakkuk, the second chapter, the vision is for an appointed time. So very soon, these things are going to happen. But we see that these are the beginning stages of a shifting happening within the earth, happening within these alliances of the heathen. And ultimately, this is all to bring confusion amongst their ranks, to break them down from within. All right, so we'll go ahead and check this out. All right, but hey, this right here is major.
While the ongoing West Asia conflict continues to disrupt global order, a possible new brawl between Turkey and Israel threatens to blow the entire diplomatic process apart. Turkey's foreign ministry has described Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as the Hitler of modern times. It has accused him of actively working to sabotage the ongoing peace negotiations between Iran and the United States. And Netanyahu has hit back hard. So, how did this extraordinary exchange start? Shortly after the US and Iran agreed to a ceasefire earlier this week, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan warned Donald Trump about what he called possible provocations and sabotage that could undermine the deal. He did not name anyone specifically, but in the language of West Asian geopolitics, the target was unmistakable. Erdogan was pointing at Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli PM responded to this in a social media post with a direct and personal attack. He wrote, "Israel, under my leadership, will continue to fight Iran's terror regime and its proxies, unlike Erdogan, who accommodates them and massacred his own Kurdish citizens. It was a calculated provocation." Invoking the Kurdish issue against Turkey is one of the most incendiary things an Israeli leader can say to Ankara. And Turkey responded with everything it had. Turkey's foreign ministry released a statement calling Netanyahu the Hitler of our time and backed it with legal specifics. It noted that an arrest warrant has been issued against Netanyahu by the International.
Now, real quick, the reason why Erdogan is framing the regime of the small hats and Netanyahu as the Hitler of our time is, number one, because, of course, what's going on in Gaza, which is an ethnic genocide of the Palestinian people. All right, but you have Netanyahu always coming out and lying about the motives, saying that it's Hamas and this and that. Well, no, they want to take over their land so they can build their, paradise. You know what I'm saying? Their wicked ass, small hat paradise over there, and capitalize off the resources that are available in that land. Which, when you deal with the Edomites, this is what they've always done. Okay, they go in, they lie, they slander you, then they go in with the sword. All right, so that's no different than what they doing in Gaza, to where, how they've done it everywhere else on the earth. Okay, you name it, that's what they've done. And also because Tayyip Erdogan, they are very aware, all right, that the small hats, they have this agenda of the Greater Israel Project, okay, which includes taking over pretty much the whole of the so-called Middle East, Western Asia. And that would include Turkey as well. Okay? So Erdogan is pretty much saying that Netanyahu, all right, which, their whole thing of 6 million small hats dying in World War II, which is false. All right, they use that to justify themselves being in that land. You know what I'm saying? And basically fighting against their enemies. You see what I'm saying? But, the world knows that it's all some BS. But nevertheless, they're going to continue to run with this narrative. But now you have all those nations over there in Western Asia. They're looking at the small hats and America with a side eye, because they know that America and Israel, that they're coming for the sovereignty of those Gulf Arab states over there, man. So that's why when you read in prophecy, all right, it talks about the dragons of Arabia and the Carmanians being those Saudi states, and Iran being the Carmanians, coming together and coming against the land of the Assyrians, which would be America, Babylon. All right, so again, we're in the beginning stages of these things going down, because we're still very early in this war. We're only 6 weeks in, so there's a lot still to happen. But these 6 weeks so far have been very, very interesting, man, to where now you have this conflict coming out now. Okay, you got these nations now butting heads. Okay, but basically this guy right here, he's on a genocidal campaign to remove all of the other Western Asian nations and set up this greater Israel project, which, when you look at Hitler, he was pretty much on the same thing. Like, he was on a campaign to take over the whole of Europe, all right, which he almost succeeded in, all right, until America and Russia got involved in that war. Okay, so they see that this guy, he's going the same way as the very psychopathic maniac that they claim to denounce. All right, so there's a lot of hypocrisy in this thing, but hey, it's only going to amp up more. But let's continue.
National Criminal Court for War Crimes and Crimes Against Humanity. It pointed out that Israel is being tried at the International Court of Justice on allegations of genocide, and it accused Netanyahu's remarks of being baseless, insolent, and false. But Turkey's most pointed accusation was not about the past. It was about right now. But the most explosive line in Turkey's statement was this: Netanyahu's current objective is to sabotage the ongoing peace negotiations. The ministry argued that without this war, Netanyahu would face trial in his own country and likely be sentenced to prison. It is an accusation that Netanyahu is prolonging a Middle East conflict for personal legal survival, and Turkey said it will persist in efforts to ensure he is held accountable. Now, this came right before the direct talks between the US and Iran collapsed after more than 21 hours of discussions in Islamabad on Sunday. Even if Washington and Tehran find a way back to the negotiating table, the ceasefire has a third actor who is not bound by it. Tel Aviv is still striking. Lebanon is still burning, and Turkey, which is one of NATO's most powerful members, has just called the Israeli Prime Minister the Hitler of our time. We will continue to track this story.
So, you see what's going on, okay? That Turkey, according to Revelation 17 and 16, that the beast would hate the whore. Also, meanwhile, you have a lot of those European states as well. They're turning on Babylon. You see, because they see that America's following the small hats, and that they're on a road to destruction, so they don't want no parts. Now, when Turkey leaves, many other of those European nations are going to leave as well. Because, like I said, Turkey is pretty much that buffer between, what they would call the Middle East and Europe, which is all the same thing, Western Asia. But Turkey is that buffer. You know what I'm saying? Like once Turkey, change colors and they go with Russia and China and other BRICS, guess what? A lot of those other European nations, all right, they're going to do the same thing. Because France, UK, Germany, Trump been talking real ill against them. You know what I'm saying? Like, talking to them crazy, man. So they already of the mindset like, yo, F America. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's only a matter of time before these things eventually go down. But this is another war front, okay? And hey, when you go 2nd Ezra 16 and 18, speaking of this time now, the last days, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? So this is the beginning of wars on the earth. Okay, multiple war fronts going on at the same time. There's so much war going on right now, you can't even keep up. You see? Erdogan threatens military action against Israel. MK calls him a megalomaniacal dictator. All right. Yeah, here's the quote. The bloodstained genocide network continues to delete innocent children, women, and civilians without any rule or principle, ignoring all kinds of human values, Erdogan alleged while addressing the International Asia Political Parties Conference in Istanbul. Despite the ceasefire, Israel has forced 1.2 million Lebanese to leave their homes due to attacks on civilian settlements. You see, and the world sees that the small hats, they're doing nothing but, violating basic human rights, all right, violating war ethics, man. So they don't give a damn. And see, this is why it's prophesied in Job 20 and 27 that the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, speaking of the Edomite, and the earth shall rise up against him. We see that the earth is rising up against Esau. Okay? The nations are rising up against his ass. Okay, you also have the earth, all right, spewing out plagues against this man. And he's being exposed at an all-time high. Everybody's exposing this devil for what he is, man. So yeah, we definitely in that time where Esau is going down. And there's nothing that he can do to reverse this, man. Like Esau is in too deep to turn back. Erdogan said despite both Israel and the United States rejecting claims of Lebanon being included in the current ceasefire with Iran, Erdogan went on to describe Israeli actions as barbaric while citing a controversial law recently passed by the Knesset to approve death penalties against Tias, which the Turkish leader said was meant only for Palestinian prisoners. Okay, so Esau being called out. Which the Turks are Edomites as well. All right, mixed in with some Ishmael and some Elam, but as the Lord said, if Satan's house be divided, how then can it stand? Okay, so Esau, he's divided against himself, man. So and that's how you know that his kingdom is going down. Let's get this as well. Lights out for 10 years. Trump threatens to wipe out Iranian power plants. Begins Hormuz blockade. So now that there's been no peace negotiations that they've come to agreement with, Trump is now sending warships, or they already have warships, in the Strait of Hormuz, and now they're going to blockade the strait. Okay, so what was already a bad situation is now going from bad to worse. You see? To where now Babylon say that they're going to block off the Strait of Hormuz so that not even Iranian vessels can get through. You know what I'm saying? Or Russian or Chinese. So you see how this thing is moving to now where these nations are going to have to make a move. They're all going to have to get involved. Okay, because Babylon, they don't want Iran to have that strategic advantage, all right, controlling the strait to where they can literally choke off the world's energy supply and Babylon can't benefit. All right, so now you have DJT making this order to go in, which this is only going to make things spiral more out of control, bring prices higher, and destroy more people's lives, man. Which ultimately we understand these things are being done to reset the global economy, because we're in that time, and we'll get a video in a minute. Yeah, but all this is going on to reset the global economy. Because why? They want to bring in this digital technocracy, this global beast system. Okay, so yeah, with that being said, let's check this out.
Boost 7, we've got more ominous threats being launched by Trump now, saying that he will continue the destruction of Iran. And he goes on to say that they could put the lights out in Iran for the next 10 years. He talks about the only thing left to target is their water infrastructure and their power plants. And he says, I really don't want to do that because it's going to be bad. But he's talking lights out for 10 years. I'm warning you, there's going to be blowback from all this. And if they pull that same move on us here, it's over. They knock America from its perch. He's telling you right there it will take 10 years to rebuild when you got a grid completely wiped out. Say it's even half that. It's still 5 years. And a majority of anyone's supplies to rebuild a grid right now would be coming from where? From China. Now, how well is that going to bode for us if an enemy puts us in the dark and our supplies to get back up and running are coming from the enemy? That's called a setup. All of this is one huge ruse to bring about a global reset, and it's underway right now. And I told you, there will be no peace. They'll keep dragging it out. Now Trump's saying they're taking our military up into the Straits of Hormuz with this blockade, or crushing their blockade, and we're going to take every vessel that wants to go in, and out. There's not going to be no buddy system. Some say this is about to spark a massive assault, a massive military back and forth again, where this continues. And you would likely see UAE and our troops take the brunt of any hit because they're there. They are now.
Yeah, so the point is, these things we seeing happen, man. This is only leading to, which we're already in World War III. This is just the escalation of the conflicts that have been going on. Okay, so Yahweh Bashmi Awashai, he's working on the hearts of these kings, man. All right, Daniel. Let's look at that. Daniel 4. In verse 17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. Okay, which the basis of men, the lowest of all men, are the Edomites. Okay, and they are the ones that are currently ruling over the earth. But see, the Lord is the one that works on the hearts of these kings and makes them do what they do. Because ultimately, everybody that's on this earth, they're here to fulfill the will of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, whether they be wicked or righteous. Okay, once again, everybody is in their lot in these last days. All right, so Trump, he's playing his role down to the T. All right, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's playing his role to the T. Okay, these other nations that are getting involved in this conflict, they're also playing their role. All right, so at the end of the day, all right, prophecy is going to reign supreme in Yahweh Bashmi Shai's words, and the words that his men have been commanded to speak are going to be validated, man. And everybody else that came up against this truth is going to be confounded. All right, because prophecy will be accomplished. All right, so hey, Strait of Hormuz, which this is probably the most important waterway in the whole of the planet Earth, responsible for energy and goods coming through and all kind of stuff. Okay, now you got Trump talking about he's going to wipe out the power in these power plants over there, man. So, once all these things go down, the same thing going to happen here in the West. All right, they are going to go lights out. So this is an omen of things to come. And from that, we know that they're going to implement this great reset. You know what I'm saying? Once the lights come back on, because they're going to have to hard reset the system. The banks are going to go down. All right. These businesses are going to suffer. Jobs are going to be lost, everything. You know what I'm saying? They in the process of taking this world away. You know what I'm saying? The world that you've come to know is passing away, man. So you got to be prepared to leave this world behind. Okay. More wars and rumors of wars. Trump warns China against helping Iran with aerial defense systems, allegedly.
President Trump has warned China of big problems on its way if it continues helping Iran by supplying weapons. Trump has threatened to impose 50% tariffs on China.
China is preparing to give weapons to Iran.
Well, if China does that, China's going to have big problems, okay?
Trump's attention turned towards China after reports citing U.S. intelligence said China may send weapons to Iran in the coming weeks. These allegations emerged after China claimed a significant role in brokering the fragile ceasefire between Iran and the United States early this week. The reports further alleged that Iran is using the pause in fighting as an opportunity to strengthen its air defenses, and that China may deliver air defense systems to Iran, possibly through a third country. Beijing has denied the claims that it has supplied weapons or military technology to Iran or plans to send new air defense systems to the country. China's defense ministry rejected reports that Chinese firms provided satellite imagery and semiconductor manufacturing equipment to the Iranian military. Beijing also slammed the prospects of being hit by another tariff blitz.
Yeah, so you see that now Trump is threatening 50% tariffs against China. All right, which we saw, last year, the tariffs against China, they got super high. All right, but now he's talking about 50%. Okay, which the West, really the world is dependent on Chinese goods, but especially here in Babylon, because this is a consumer nation. We don't really produce much here, but they import a whole hell of a lot. All right, so, and mainly from China, by the way. So these tariffs that he's threatening to put on China, that's also going to make the economy suffer. All right, because you're going to, of course, having to pay more. All right, companies are going to, ship in less from China, and that's going to be a domino effect to cause businesses to fail, layoffs, more layoffs to happen, and ultimately the economy is going to tank, man. So these devils know what they're doing. Everything that they're doing is very calculated to reset this global order, okay? And what scripture was that? Yeah. All this is because of the small hats in Babylon, okay? Jeremiah 49 in verse 20. Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So the least of the flock could be referring to here in this verse, all right, which would be the small hats, right? 'Cause when you go into it, right, check this out. All right. Strong's H6810.
Strong's H6810. Zaire. Zaire. Second entry. Zaor. Zaor. Third entry. Zaire. Zaire.
Right. So Tasawar. Right, and it goes into little insignificant young. The little insignificant young, younger, youngest. So when you consider the youngest nation of the Western Allied powers, 1948, the small hats, okay? And they're the ones that's really instigated all these wars going on, okay? Babylon pretty much took the orders of Bibi to jump off this Iran war, okay? Same thing with Russia, Ukraine. The small hats instigated that too. So these small hats are really, they're at the forefront of jumping off these conflicts, man, which, fulfills this prophecy of the least of the flock, the youngest of the flock, drawing them out, the rest of these nations. Okay, and from that's how he's going to make the habitations of Edom desolate. Okay, along with these heathen nations as well, because this is the time for all these heathen to go down. But the Lord going to use Esau, right? When you read Psalm 17, it tell you that, Esau, he is the sword of the Most High. So the Most High used Esau as a rod of correction, a whipping stick to his people and also the nations. Psalm 17:13, arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Okay, so the Lord is using Esau for his purposes, man, to destabilize the earth, to take peace from the earth. All right, when you read in Revelation, it talks about the red horse, that came and you know, he came to take peace from the earth, roughly paraphrasing. And this is a consequence of what this war is leading to, okay? Because when you read in Matthew 24, our Lord Yahweh Shah told us in the last days that we would need to look out, you know, as a sign of his coming for famine, wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, pestilences, disease, and all these things we see happening in the midst of this war. Hormuz closure threatens the global food supply. Why grocery price hikes are coming. And see, this is something that, you know, the men of the Lord have been talking about for decades, starting with the elders and apostles. And like to reference Habakkuk 2 again, the vision is for an appointed time. All right. So they're now openly coming out and telling you, you know, what this conflict is about to entail, which is what? Global, worldwide famine. Okay, we see that the farmers, they're being affected as well. The farmers are being targeted. They're being defunded. They're not getting the fertilizer because there's a low supply of it, and also the price of it is exorbitantly high in the midst of the planting season, which is now spring. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, all these things that's coming down the pipe, man, you know, we're coming into a very dangerous scenario here on the earth, you know. So let's read some of this. The global energy crisis caused by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is now about to be indefinitely shut down, because ain't nothing about to get through with Babylon over there and Iran going back and forth over that waterway. All right, so this global energy crisis is destroying the world economy and it's going to, you know, destroy the world food supply. Diesel going to continue to go up, which these truckers and these dock workers, these ships that go back and forth, they need fuel. So where they going to get the fuel from if it ain't coming through the Strait of Hormuz or the Suez Canal? Things going to shut down. Caused by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is only the beginning of the economic cost of the war with Iran. See, it's only the beginning. All right. And we read about what the beginning of sorrows, right? I study how institutions affect businesses and supply chains, and I expect food prices to rise next. And you've had a lot of talking heads on the internet warning people to stock up on food, you know, get water, this, and that, which is nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, these people, they believe that's going to be the end all be all. All right. That, yeah, you know, because you got preppers as well. Yeah, well, if I just get, you know, 5 years worth of food and I store it up in my basement, or I start my farm and I do this and that, then I'm good. I ain't got to worry about nothing. Okay, which is sadly mistaken. Because like I said, you know, it's nothing wrong with growing your own food. It's nothing wrong with, you know, getting you some extra stuff to put aside for a rainy day. But ultimately, if the Lord ain't with you, then all of that is not going to mean anything. All right, because the Lord can set it up to where he can take all that from you. All right. He can have Esau come through, destroy your, you know, farm. All right. The Lord can put a spirit on, you know, some, you know, just some demons to come through, burn your house down, you know, take you out and spoil your goods. You know what I'm saying? Like the scriptures speak about that. In 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, how it's going to be people going around with the sword and looking to spoil people for their goods and, you know, their supplies, man. So the scriptures speak of all these things. But ultimately, your faith need to be in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man, because that's the most important thing. All right. So it says here, along with about 20% of the world's crude oil trade and a similar share of the world's liquefied natural gas shipments, shipping traffic through the strait also carries roughly a third of internationally traded fertilizer, which is key to bountiful crops around the world. So if 20%, Slakia, so if a third of internationally traded fertilizer is not passing through that strait, and prior to that, there were bountiful crops, right? So what's going to happen when all, being that this stuff is now being cut off? It's going to lead to scarcity, okay? It's going to lead to a lot of things drying up. Modern agriculture depends on precise timing of delivering nutrients to plants. When fertilizer arrives late or becomes too expensive to buy in sufficient quantities, Farmers are left to either reduce the amount they use, plant fewer crops, or switch to crops that need less fertilizer. Each option reduces overall productivity. See that? Cutting supplies of basic foods, feed for livestock, and key ingredients used in a wide range of food products. Ultimately, with corn prices rising, summer barbecues may taste a bit different or cost more. Corn on the cob may not be cheap, nor will corn-fed beef. In addition, many store-bought condiments, soft drinks, and other food products are made with high fructose corn syrup and will also cost more, which that's horrible for your health anyway. But the point is, there's a famine coming. All right. You see the farmers here. Okay. Farmers have hard decisions to make about what crops to plant and how much of each. So these farmers are being cut out the game. Why? Because in this new world that these elites want, they don't want there to be farmers. All right. They want you to eat synthetic food. They want you to eat lab grown meat. You know what I'm saying? They want you to eat crickets and bugs. All right. That's the reality of what's coming down the pipe. That's why they're cutting out the farming now. And once again, that's why we do this, man, to tie these events, all right, into biblical prophets. Matter of fact, yeah, let's stay in this chapter, then we'll go to 15. All right. It says here, 2 Ezra 16 and 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So these things are being sent on the earth for judgment. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. See? So the Lord is sending famine and plague and tribulation on the earth as a reproof for wickedness, judgment. But even though all these things are going to happen, people are still not going to repent. They're still not going to turn from their wickedness, man. And it says here in 21, behold, victuals, right? Which, when you go into victuals, it goes into food, provisions, things that people use to sustain their life, right? Victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Yeah, so at one point in time, food was super cheap. Now you have inflation coming into the picture that's making food unaffordable. But very soon, it's not going to be about the affordability of the food, because right now, you can buy as much as you can afford. There's really no scarcity like that yet. But very soon, scarcity is going to come into the picture where it's not going to matter how much you can buy. Is all that's going to matter is how much you can get your hands on, because the availability of the food is going to be very low. Okay? Hence going into that famine, man. So very soon, how much money you got in the bank, it's not going to matter, because what good is being a millionaire if you can't buy food? You know what I'm saying? What good is being a millionaire if you can't even put gas inside your car? So you see, the Lord is about to neutralize all the pride in the earth, man. Okay, the Lord is about to take all the pride away. And all you're going to be left with is your faith in Yahweh Bashmel Shai, or your faith in this world, which, the latter will do you no good. All right. So we're in a time now of loss, and we ourselves in this truth, we have to prepare ourselves for loss as well. All right. Because, there's going to be a lot we're going to have to walk away from. And, we're going to have to walk by faith and not by sight in this time. Trust that the Lord will be with us and comfort us and deliver us in the midst of these evil times. That's why we do these lessons, to build your faith. All right. Yeah, they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, the sword, famine, and great confusion. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Okay. Now, when you go to, let's go to 6 real quick. Okay. Because these full storehouses, right? These supermarkets, these malls, which, hey, a lot of malls are being destroyed and shut down because nothing's coming in, man. People not going to these malls no more. They ain't got the money to spend. Okay, a lot of these fast food spots, mom and pop shops, they all closing up. All right, this is 2 Ezra 6 and 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. All right, the farms, the grocery stores, the food outlets, the Nike store, whatever. All these places about to be dried up, man, because Global shipping and trade is going to be shut down, and the food is going to stop coming in. Okay? Shall appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. It's going to be nothing there, and it's going to happen all of a sudden. All right? And you go to 15 to get the farmer. All right? Second Ezra 15 and 13. It says, matter of fact, let's start up. Let's start at verse 11. But I will bring them, speaking of the elect, with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues. America, Babylon the Great, this is modern day spiritual Egypt, as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh Bashmiel Shai shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for the seeds shall fail through the blasting in hell, and with a fearful constellation, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. So right now, the farmer, okay, yeah, the farmer is catching hell. All right, they got to make decisions on how to, still do what they do and get a profit. And a lot of these farmers don't even know if they're going to be in operation for the next few months, because that's how hard it is right now. Okay, so the farmers are mourning. All right, they that till the ground shall mourn. Also, the crops are failing because of this wild weather. You know what I'm saying? You got hailstorms, you got droughts, you got flooding. You got all kind of stuff going on that's affecting the yield that these farmers put out, man. Okay, with a fearful constellation. Yeah, they looking out into the world, and they looking at the situation. It's like, yo, things are not good. Things are only going to get worse. All right, it's a fearful constellation out here. Okay, so hey, man, we have a more sure word of prophecy, and hey, we know, all right, that we in that time. All right, so in the midst of that, because this Hormuz thing is going to lead to a global reset, like I said. So now you have Trump. All right, he's now summoned bank leaders over terrifying new threat to global financial system, right? So we'll just read some of this. Get this damn ad out the way, man. The Trump administration has summoned America's most powerful bank chiefs to an urgent closed-door meeting over an AI model its makers warn could bring down a blue-chip company or breach national defense firewalls. Okay, which they're seeing that because of these things, that the whole cybersecurity industry is about to collapse. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, we at the end of all things, man. Everything is there. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell convened a session at Treasury headquarters in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday to address Mythos, a new model from AI giant Anthropic. And the fact that Jerome Powell is about to step down and they about to bring in a new guy in May, I forget his name. But when he comes in, it's pretty much going to be a complete overhaul of the current financial system, and they're going to accelerate towards bringing in that chip, bringing in this AI infrastructure, ultimately the B system. Okay, so come next month, man, it's going to be a lot of changes in the way finance is done going forward. So once again, we in that time. Anthropic had announced Mythos the same way, revealing that the model surprised coders by hacking into the company's own networks during internal testing. The meeting was called at short notice for banks classified as systematically important, whose stability is considered vital to the global financial system. See that? Bloomberg reported, and Trump is meeting with these individuals. So what do you think is getting ready to happen? Among the bosses summoned were Citigroup's Jane Fraser, Morgan Stanley's Ted Pick, Bank of America's Brian Moynihan, Wells Fargo, Charlie Scharf, and Goldman Sachs' David Solomon. Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan was unable to attend. So he's meeting with these bank leaders because they know what they about to do. They about to bring in the tenets of the Big Beautiful Bill and the Genius Act, to where they about to completely overhaul this financial system and go completely digital. Okay, that's why this meeting is being had. because they know, the way that this Hormuz Strait is going, the way that this war is going, they know what it's going to cause for the global economy. So they're preparing to, again, bring in this reset. All right, so that's pretty much the point of this article. All right, this is what Esau got going on. They getting ready to bring in the Great Reset, man. All right. Also, check this out. Massachusetts bill would cut down on people's driving miles. Okay, so these draconian decrees are coming down the pipe because of the shortage of fuel. Okay, now they saying that come May 1st, they about to start, watering down the gas to now it's going to go from E10 to E15. All right, which is going to mess up a lot of people's cars. It's going to be less fuel efficient. And ultimately, they're trying to discourage people from using gas-powered vehicles. That's why since 2020, they've been pushing the agenda of the EV so hard, because they want to get people away from using gas-powered vehicles. And they're basically going to price you out of using gas-powered vehicles so that you can get in an EV that can be tracked, traced, can be, they can be remotely controlled, and that these devils, they can have tabs on you at all times, man. So this is that surveillance state coming in. Now they want to impose this to limit how many miles that you can drive. All right, and this among many other things. When you get, what is that? I believe it's this chapter. Yeah, 2 Ezra 15. Because this thing is also going to cause sedition. All right. For there shall be sedition among men, in invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So people are going to ignore the rules of the government, and they're going to do what they want to do. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Why? Because very soon they're going to have these martial law checkpoints. They're going to have fuel restrictions. It's not going to be no fuel to travel nowhere. The airports are going to shut down. Everything is going to hell. So this is why these things are about to happen. But you see these devils making these moves to normalize these certain mandates. All right, so let's get into this.
I'm Boston 25 News reporter Drew Caritas on scene in Boston, where a bill that aims to cut down on the number of miles people drive in their personal cars across the state is one step closer to reaching the governor's desk.
There's too many cars on the roads. The traffic in Boston has become terrible.
An effort to reduce the number of statewide driving miles is advancing on Beacon Hill, and the bill that focuses on how much people drive is bringing both praise and criticism.
It just seems like the wrong way to approach things. Everybody's doing their best. They have to drive to get to work.
The Freedom to Move Act centers around bringing Massachusetts in line with its climate mandates. Supporters say the transportation sector accounts for the greatest share of carbon emissions in the state.
It's not about individuals and how much you're driving. It's about the investments that the state makes in our infrastructure.
The bill would establish a new council to find ways to make public transportation more accessible, looking at boosting options like trains, buses, and bike lanes.
It's complete.
Yeah, and this all goes into the tenets of what they call the sustainability agenda, to where they want to get people away from using fossil fuels like gas. All right, which is why they want to ban gas stoves. They want to ban propane heaters and things like that. And they pretty much want you to go all electric, you know what I'm saying? And they want to get you away from owning personal vehicles and more into what they said in this video. Okay, using ride shares, renting, bikes, okay, using public transit, because this is a system of control. These are the tenets of the NWO coming down the pipe. All right, so this is why these bills are being rolled out. And it's not only going to be in Boston, this is going to be all across the U.S. All right, all these states going to have to get on board with these mandates that's coming down the pipe, man. So life as you know it very soon, it's already changing, but it's about to take a drastic change, you know what I'm saying, once they go lights out and reset this whole society.
Completely out of touch with reality. There's so many people in Massachusetts who have to drive because it's a way of life.
Paul Craney, executive director of the Massachusetts Fiscal Alliance, believes the bill doesn't consider people in rural and some suburban communities.
If you live in Boston and you want to ride the train or public transportation, that's good for you. But don't force this on the rest of the state.
A statement from the bill's sponsor, Senator Cynthia Stone Cream, says, quote, "It does not in any way limit people's choices about how to get around. It does not impose fines, penalties, or taxes on drivers. In fact, it gives people more choices."
That's the devil for you, man. Talking about it gives people more choices. No, it's actually taking your rights away and giving you less choices at the end of the day. And they are going to impose fines and taxes, you know what I'm saying, once this energy crisis gets bad enough. Okay, you already seeing that because of the fuel that they charging, fuel surcharges now for deliveries. Okay, so the worse that this fuel crisis get, they are going to impose these fines and penalties and things like that in the name of peace and safety and in the name of, being climate conscious, okay, which is all BS. All right, but got this right here as well. All right, gas is getting watered down. Millions panic over E15 fuel. Snyder reports.
This sale to go through. You can sell E15 after May 1st. Previously, in the summer months, you couldn't sell E15 gasoline because it burns off much quicker. So they didn't.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work. Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello. They didn't want it. It burns off much faster in the warmer months. As a result, they pushed against this. That's why they're bringing it back, because it's going to help lower fuel costs. Well, it doesn't really lower costs. Here's what it actually does. And this is where most people are getting it wrong. E15, by approving and having a waiver that opens the door to sell E15 throughout May, or from May 1st to May 21st, what this allows is people that are normally putting 87 into their gas tank, they can put E15. They can do it because it's available, if it's available in their city. Well, here's the issue, and this is what a lot of people have been saying. It has less gas mileage. Okay, so you're not going to be able to travel as far under E15. That's true. You will not be able to travel as far. The other thing is it's not as good on your car's system, on the engine, on the injectors, on the evap system. There's so many issues with E15.
See, so number one, you won't be able to travel as far on this fuel. And the biggest component of this is that it's going to destroy people's vehicles, man. Again, like I just went into, they don't want you to own gas-powered vehicles, all right? So they're going to water down the gas, all right, give people E15. Shit, Esau may even go to E20, all right? That's how much of a devil that he is, man. All right, put 20% ethanol inside the car. You see? In order to destroy people's vehicles so that your ass can't go nowhere. As we just read in 2 Ezra 15, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, that's also going to be another level and layer to it, because the fuel is going to be so watered down, you're not going to be able to travel nowhere. People they are already doing it. All right, this is not something that's going to happen May 1st. They're already doing it. Like, you have how many people on TikTok and social media complaining about how the gas don't last as long as it did before the war. How people are having to fill up 2 times a week. You see what I'm saying? Because the quality of the gas is so degraded. So Esau's already doing this, man. So likely what's going to happen May 1st, this devil may go to E20 or even higher than that, man. Which, you know what I'm saying, you about to see a lot more, gas powered cars break down on the road, and your car going to be having to get in the shop more often, man. This man's the absolute devil that the Bible speaks of, okay? But showing you where we at, that this devil, he wants to sit your ass down where you are, to where he can have tabs on you at all times, man. All right, because he know that people going to be trying to flee these cities, get out into the country and get away from all the chaos that's going to happen. And this is, the devil's attempt to mitigate that. All right. So yeah, E15. All right, coming May 1st. All right. Let's get this as well. Yeah, because going into all this, right? The prophets, the men of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, all right, have been going into these things for decades. But late last year, you had the elites come out with the cover of The Economist magazine, and the title was "The World Ahead 2026." Okay, geopolitical drift opportunities for China, after Gaza outlook for the Middle East, beyond Ukraine, Russia's next move. The global economy is a crisis brewing, right? Supporting sporting values, political football, weight loss drugs, the next generation. So on this cover here, they pretty much outline this. This is coming from the elites, and this ain't really for the average people. That's why this cover was so controversial when it came out, because those that are in the know that all of what's on here is an agenda that's about to be played out, which is what we're living through right now in the year of 2026. All right, so this is Dabu. Let's check it out.
That's already raising some concern and people questioning, wow, I wonder what's going to happen here in 2026. Well, we've looked at this in years past, and yes, this thing has had some accuracy in calling out things that are depicted. This is a magazine that the Rothschilds have been connected to since, the inception, for a long time. Even though they were recently talking about trying to sell a portion of it, they're still connected, and this magazine is made kind of for the elites, and it's their way, as I see it, to telegraph little things that are going to come, that are expected in the time ahead. Now here, I'm just going to try to dive into this whole thing kind of quickly and point out some key things that I've seen. Because again, the track record is good for them in terms of pointing out things that have come true. And you can see America front and center. Right here, the flag, it's in shackles. Not a good sign. On its birthday, 250, which happens 4th of July of 2026. Now, there's a lot going on here. And you'll see plenty of robots, drones, bombs in the background, blasts, fires on the horizon, ships, and even a satellite or two. This one is shooting at a vessel. It's a weapon. And it hits a boat that looks like it's carrying containers, but they pop open and it's actually guns. And they fire a shot. Now, who's the shot going at? America. You'll also see the red balloons on the birthday. There's a total of 7 around the entire thing. You'll see 2 big red tanks that are kind of ominous across the entire thing. Zelensky sitting up here. Mahdi, Maloney, I do believe here, and a bunch of these robot dogs. And
you see the color red that's featured throughout this cover here. And red is very important to these elites because ultimately, red, of course, it signals danger, warning, something ominous coming. But also, red identifies with the Edomite, okay? The first came out red all over like in hairy garment. You know what I'm saying? Edom out of Wam, all right, means red in the Hebrew. Okay, so they put this red all throughout there to, let you know that there's a danger coming. And also who's behind, all this stuff that's going on, the nation of Edom. All right. So you pretty much see that on this cover, you have a lot of war going on. You got satellites shooting lasers down at ships. You got, missiles, ICBMs, and all this came out late last year, man. Forecasting what's going to happen in the time that we in right now. And really, this is all from Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, man, because this came out before all this stuff started going down. You know what I'm saying? But the prophets have been sounding the alarm for way longer, man. So, this only validates what the prophets have been saying, and it validates, all right, the Bible, all right, the words of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, as faithful and true. Right, but we're on the miss, you know what I'm saying? You see the broken dollar sign right there. Yeah, so they about to collapse this economy, man. That, you know what I'm saying? That's what these wars are all about. You know, global shipping is about to be cut. More wars about to jump off. These leaders is about to go back and forth into it, man. So, you know, we all know that the world is a stage, but hey, things are definitely turning up, man. All right, we can end off right here, okay? Because people are noticing, right? It says here, time is going by too fast. And nobody's talking about it. All right, and why is time going by so fast, man? Let me see if I can reload this. All right, this page is tripping.
Have a strong password? You'll forget it. And whether your password...
Time is...
Right? So, yeah, you know, people are noticing, which this has been going on, you know, for quite some time, where people have been noticing, like, damn. You know, because even when you look at it, since 2020 to now, it seemed like time just been accelerated, man. You know? Like, you'll talk to some older people that tell you back in the day, no, you know, time wasn't, you know, going this fast. But it's like ever since 2020 came, stuff just been speeding up, man. And that's prophecy, right? When you go to the book of Matthew, 24th chapter, right? Matthew 24. Matter of fact, yeah, let's just start up at the classic, right? Matthew 24:6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, and that's why we see so much sorrow on the earth, because it coincides with all these things we see in here, okay? But to go down, right, to verse Matthew 24, and let's start at 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. See? And we've gone into the articles to show you where even the scientists, you know, they've been coming out and saying that the earth is actually spinning faster, okay, which is making time, you know, go by fast, man. So this, you know what I'm saying? So Yahweh Bashmil Shai, he's shortening the days for the sake of his elect, because this world is hastily passing away. And people are perplexed in this time. They don't understand, you know, what the hell is going on. Like, why are things moving so fast? You know, but let's check out just a short portion of this, you know.
Time is going really, really fast right now. And I think we all feel it, and nobody's talking about it. And it's scary. I'll notice it's Monday, and then it seems like before I turn around, it's Monday again. It's like I went through a wormhole or something. And stay with me here, because what's causing this, it's not what you think. This isn't just about the distraction of our phones and our age. There's something deeper going on. And to be honest, there's something a lot more terrifying going on. And this time thing, it used to not be like that for me. I remember in my 20s working 10-hour days, and I'd still find enough time to go to the gym before work and after work. And now I barely find time to go to the gym at all. And I know that I was young back then, but every day felt like it was the length of about 3 of the days that I'm having right now. And it's gotten...
Yeah, and like I said, like if you talk, you know, to people that was around like in the, you know, the 70s, 80s, you know, the 90s, you know, a lot of people from the 90s that tell you the 90s for like the longest decade ever. You know what I'm saying? But compared to now, the 2020s, I mean, we more than halfway through this decade already, and it seemed like 2020 wasn't even that long ago. Like, we just went through the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? So, like, he's giving a testimony, man, you know, like, when he was younger, it felt like he could, you know, have time to work a 10-hour shift, go to the gym 2 times a day. Now, he barely got time to go to the gym 1 time a day because stuff is just moving so fast, man. So, it shows you the contrast and, you know, what the Lord is doing, to where the Lord is really messing these people up in the head, man. You know what I'm saying? To where they can't understand what's really going on in this time. And, you know, he tries to give different explanations as to why, you know, anxiety and just having more responsibility. But yeah, really, that's not the cause of what this is, man. See, as we just read in Matthew 24, the Lord, he's shortening the days. He's speeding the days up. And this is why weeks are going by like hours now. You know what I'm saying? It's like one day is like half a day. It's like one day is not even 24 hours no more. One day is like 12 hours, you know? And that's why, you know, a lot of brothers have been saying they feel tired and fatigued. And you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know, time is moving so fast. It's like, you know, you have so much to do during the day and you barely get time to rest. You know what I'm saying? By the time you put your head down, it's like the alarm goes off. You got to get up. You got to do this, do that. And before you know it, is, you know, you got to lay it back down again and repeat the same thing the next day, you know? But hey, you know, it's good for us because we know that we about to get up out of here. But, you know, the people of this world, you know, they're perplexed, you know? They don't have an understanding of biblical prophecy and what the Bible says about this time. So they're trying to find out and make up their own explanations as to why these things are, you know, going down the way that they're going down. All right. But they omit prophecy. OK, so, yeah, man, you know, this world is rapidly passing away. You know what I'm saying? And Yahweh Bashmi Shai, he's manifesting the end before us. You know what I'm saying? So we can close out here. Let's get 2nd Ezra 9, right? Close out. Lord willing, it's been edifying so far. 2nd Ezra chapter 9, we'll start at the top, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we seen a lot of that happen right now, a lot of protests, a lot of angry people that's in the world, protesting their governments, you know, protesting these mandates coming down, right? These are all signs of the end. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils. See, and that's what it's all about. That's the faith of the hopefully elect, man, to be preserved from the said perils. And that's what we're looking for, all right? And shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning, right? So, hey, this is where we at, to where, you know, all these things we've gone through just briefly, you know, in this lesson, is to show you that, hey, we're at the end of the world, man. Right, and that coincides with the end of Esau. Okay, 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right. So, you know, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close out this lesson. You know, Lord willing, this lesson has been edifying through the Rakah Kedash. Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kedash. And until next time, Lord willing, shalom to the elect.